I'd now like to ask Holly Morehouse to come forward. Holly is co-founder of Vermont Afterschool, Inc., and was the 2017 recipient of the Con Hogan Award. She's going to provide some reflections about what the award has meant to her and to her work on behalf of expanded learning opportunities for children in Vermont. Holly.
Hello. I am thrilled to be here in this room again with all of you, and I'm so very excited for you, Jim. I was asked to speak a bit about what the award has meant to me, the Con Hogan Award, and I can honestly say that from that very first surprise phone call a year ago to standing here today, it has truly been an amazing year. I will forever be grateful that I got to meet Con. I didn't have the fortune, as many of you in the room did, to work with him over the years, but through this award, I feel this connection to who he was and what he believed in, and this honor and responsibility to help carry some piece of that forward in whatever way I can. Being associated with the Con Hogan Award, with Con Hogan, with his legacy, and with the award, has helped to bring the work of what we're doing to the forefront. It also gave me added confidence and renewed energy to continue to work through the muck of what currently is to get to that vision of what should be. I stand here a year later knowing that the work we're doing for the children and youth in Vermont has taken a huge leap forward, 3 to 5 years worth of work in 12 months because of this association with the award and because of the association with Con and his legacy. And it's work that is fully grounded in partnership and collaboration and based on meaningful data. I also think it was a brilliant decision with the founding committee to not make this just any award, but the Con Hogan Award, because his name and his legacy carries that weight. So for those of you who don't know me, what did I do? What do I do? What did I do? So I work in the third space. So the third space is that space outside a home and outside a school where children and youth spend so many of their working hours, and it has a huge impact on their growth and development. And a number of things need to happen in that space for them to grow into healthy, well-rounded, and happy adults. And things that we're talking about are connections to others, opportunities to give back, chances to learn, peer relationships, interest in new skills and activities, access to recreation and other opportunities. I used the award to go to Finland for a 3-week deep dive into the cross-sector comprehensive system for youth work that they have in Finland. With some of the highest test scores in the world and also one of the shortest school days, the third space that Finland has for their youth and young people is a tremendous space. And the question I had is, what's happening in that third space with children and youth that is allowing their young people to be so successful? This award opened up and made possible that trip, and it also brought me into so many amazing conversations. So I got to be in conversation with folks. This is a youth center in Helsinki that specializes in working with unemployed youth, and it does this through the theater arts. And what this director said to me is, he said, when a young person comes through this door who is not engaged in school, who does not have a job, who is really struggling to connect to society, the last thing that young person needs is for me to sit down and give them 2 hours of counseling on job interview skills and how to find a job. First, they need to learn to express themselves. So they run a whole theater arts program where they don't use any pre-written plays. The plays are written by the youth, and the youth workers work with the youth in that writing of the play to understand their issues and what they care about and what they're thinking about. He said when that work is done, when they can express themselves, then we can do the other work of job and training and moving on. I got to have a conversation with a professional graffiti artist who a number of years ago was causing all kinds of trouble for the city he lived in because he was painting all over the place. And now I found him in a youth center, and he was working as a youth worker. And on the day that I got to meet with him, he had just received notice from the city that the city was giving him authorization over 450 walls, bike tunnels, and bridges in the city for graffiti. So when a young person walks through the door and says, I want to express myself, I've got things to say, I'm an artist, I want to try these ideas out, he can say, well, why don't you take wall 500 and or 151, and let's work together to figure out what you want to say to your community and to the city, and how do you get your art up there. I got to see what it means when a nation puts as one of their number one indicators for their children and youth that every young person in Finland will have a hobby, and how that translates into spaces like this. The whole band setup, any young person can come in with a group of friends and start to explore music. There's pottery wheels, there's jewelry making, and these are in centers everywhere throughout the entire country. And I got to meet this young man, his name is Kim, who had dropped out, had been disengaged. The only thing he was interested in was digital music production. He started coming to this youth center, and with the help of the youth workers over time, actually also learned that he had a real gift for working with other young people. So he had gone back to school, got his degree in youth work, and now he sat there with that street cred of, if I were sitting at that panel and was trying to help someone to do digital music production, I wouldn't know what button to push. But he does, and he knows how to have that conversation with the young people that are walking through the door and to co-live those two passions of the music production and the youth work hand in hand. I got to meet amazing colleagues from the Ministry of Education and Culture at the national level to researchers in youth policy and research at the University of Tampere. These are some of the youth workers I met in Espoo and in Oulu. And the youth worker in Finland is this wonderful cross between a social worker, a coach, a prevention specialist, and an educator, all rolled into one. And what they pride themselves on knowing, they are experts in youth development, youth transitions, youth living conditions, and youth culture. And that is the role that they play in their society. It was an amazing thing to see and to learn from. I also got to meet with a group of young people, numerous groups of young people, but I called this one out. This is the part of the Helsinki Youth Council. And we spent 3 hours together, and they were so hungry to hear about what it was like in Vermont, what we had in place, what we didn't have in place, and how to connect it to their own experience. So these young people, they run a campaign citywide across multiple schools. They get elected to the Youth Council, and their role is not to represent all youth. And in Helsinki, their role is to magnify youth voice and figure out how they can get youth voice to the forefront. So when I said to them, well, give me some advice. I'm going back to Vermont. I want to bring things back. How do I get started? What do I do? Precious souls, they said, well, okay, when you give the youth a budget, don't make it too complicated. Our budget is so complicated. Things are coming from all these different sources, and we have work, and we have vision, and we have things we want to get done, and that just complicates things. Doesn't that sound a little bit like Con, right? Like, get the complication out of the way. There are things to be done. Well, lo and behold, I had to say to them, wait, back up. I meant when you give the youth a budget. We don't do that yet. These youth have control over 200,000 euro that they oversee, and they figure out, pulling ideas from youth across the city, what needs to be done in Helsinki to make life better for the young people there. So you go on a trip, that's great, but what does an award really mean? It's more than a trip, right? It's what you bring back. It's what it brought us to come back and relook at our data in Vermont. This is our data on access and who in Vermont has access to all these important opportunities that we're talking about and who doesn't, and what the ties are to income, and to really take a fresh look at it. And one of the things that we have done over the course of this year is we have formed a cross-sector, broad-based youth coalition called the Vermont 9 to 26 Coalition. So it's anyone working with young people ages 9 to 26. It's a very Finnish model across sector. And that group has been meeting over the course of the last year. We pulled together a group of youth from across Vermont. We held a youth rights summit in Vermont, and we asked young people to come together, and they worked with each other, not with adults, with each other, to really discuss what is it we need as young people in Vermont to be the best version of ourselves. And this youth right document sits front and center at the coalition and all the work we've been doing since then. We also formed our own youth council. So remember those kids from Helsinki. But our goal is not to create one youth council that's going to sit at the state level and oversee all the rest of the state. Our goal is to create youth councils across this entire state. We want 500 youth councils at every level, across every community and every portion of the state. We also did an 18-month current story analysis. We looked at how youth and education and after school are portrayed in all our story, like print media, news media, blogs across the 18 months, and we didn't really like what the message was. So we're working really hard as a coalition to have a new message that youth make a better Vermont. Just having them in our communities make our communities stronger. They want to be engaged. They are problem solvers. How do we put youth as the forefront and the center, and how do we create opportunities for them in the third space? This award is so exciting because of those conversations that it brought, because of the way it helped to leverage and move forward the work, because of the new coalition that's formed around it. It's been an amazing year. And truly what's so incredible about it is that you, as a leader, get to decide what to do with it. What is going to be meaningful? Is it stepping back and taking, doing a new assessment of where you are and where you go? Is it jumping forward? Is it leaping work forward? Is it a chance to relax and rejuvenate? You know, what is it you want to do? And my last slide here is the other portion of what I did with the award. So we bought a couple of kayaks, and we brought some new cross-country ski equipment because that little young man there is now 17 and a half. And we as a family want to be able to do things together. And I needed some new equipment to try to keep up with the 17 and a half-year-old. So that was the other piece of it, that other balancing of what do you need to do as a leader to keep your own self strong. So, Jim, I'm so excited about your work in Rutland and in Arlington. And I'm really thrilled for you to receive the Con Hogan Award for this next year. I hope that it'll expand your horizons. I hope it'll challenge you to look at data and silos differently. I hope it'll bring you new friends and colleagues, and I hope it will rejuvenate your soul. Congratulations.